Welcome to the beautiful and most importantly magical mountains of western North Carolina. Thank you for watching and taking time to check out this video. I know the title of the video is The Hidden Railroad, but the most important thing I want to get to tonight is the importance of knowing about our ancestors, recognizing our ancestors, and most importantly, respecting and honoring the land, whether we're living on it, visiting, hiking, whatever we're doing. It's very important that we understand the history and the ancestry. A lot of times, most of the time in our society today, the generations are not passing down information from the past, and it's getting to be where it's forgotten, and the respect and honor of the land and the history of it is not there either. My wife Rebecca and I love to hike the mountains here. We're in a beautiful area, and we always like to try to find new trails. But we found our favorite trail that we like to go on. It's a magical trail, and I'll share some of my experiences in different videos about that, and we'll even share one in this video towards the end. But we found this favorite trail that we like to hike on, and it's not too far of a drive from our house. You have to drive down. Once you get off the main road, you have to drive about 5-6 miles down a gravel road to get to the trailhead, and then the hike's about 4 miles up to a vista with a beautiful view. You can see the view at the beginning of this video, the very beginning, and then it's 4 miles back down to the car, and then so on back out. So the very first time we walked the trail, we were just amazed at the beauty. The trail follows along a riverbed pretty much for the first 3 miles till you get up to the top of the mountain towards the vista. And so we were admiring that. There's several waterfalls, several stream crossings, lots of flora, fungi. It's just a beautiful, amazing place. Well, one of the very first things that perplexed us on our hikes, and you can see this at the beginning of the video too as well, is we found a pipe that had come out of the trail. It was in the middle of the trail path, and it ran for a little ways down the trail, and we had no idea where it went to, where it came from, or how this pipe ended up in the middle of the forest we were hiking in. There were no other structures, buildings, nothing around. This pipe sat 2 miles from the trailhead, which this trailhead sat on a gravel road 5 or 6 miles from the main road. And here we are with this pipe. So we never did get an answer to it, and it always puzzled us every time that we would walk the trail and hike. Then the next time, in the area where the pipe is, the flora around that area had been cleared at one point, and it was in a circular pattern, and many people today use it as a camping site. So we explored that camping area. It was a pretty wide, vast area, and we crossed over the stream into another part of the camping area, and as you saw in the beginning of the video, we found the bed frame, the wooden bed frame. Looks like it had been redone, but I'm thinking that it had been there for a while too. So another mystery, where did that come from? So on another totally different hike, so this happened over the course of several months, even over a year and a half. The next couple hikes is when we started finding some more things, and I'm going to walk over here and show them to you. You can see them in the beginning of the video, but the very first thing, my wife Rebecca, she found, we had just got done hiking 4 miles to the top of the mountain. We were at the vista, and we were sitting, resting, admiring the view, and we looked to the side. One time we looked to the side and saw a rattlesnake. You can see that in some of my videos too, but we didn't see a rattlesnake this time. And there was a lesson in that too, about sharing the mountain with the snake, but that's another story. So we looked to the side and we found this. So this metal spike right here was sitting up on the vista. Now obviously somebody had to carry it up there and set it there, but where did it come from? Why was it there? So we brought it back with us, and then a couple months later, several days of rain, heavy rain, and The river was running heavy as we went out to hike. The stream along the trail was running heavy. The trail had been eroded in several places. We had a hard time crossing some spots, but that's when we found the rest of the tools. They were not completely out of the ground, but the soil had been washed away enough, had been eroded enough that you could see the tops to these. So this is what we found next. We found another spike. All these tools, what were all these pieces of equipment that we found? Where did they come from? I got a helicopter flying overhead, or plane. I'm near an airport. Where did they come from? So I posted some pictures, and one person got back with me and said it looked like railroad supplies. And I thought that the spikes had looked like railroad spikes, but I wasn't sure. So I did some research, and boy did I find out some information that I didn't know. Now, maybe if I had family that had been part of the railroad or had lived in the immediate area, I may have known the history of it. But this is what I'm talking about, where history doesn't get passed down or shared. There was a man named Lewis Carr, who owned a lumbering company in the early 1900s, late 1800s, here in western North Carolina. And he was hired by George Vanderbilt, who had built the Biltmore House, or who had the Biltmore House built. He didn't build it. He hired him to timber the forest, Pisgah Forest. So he ran railroad lines all throughout Pisgah Forest. And as I looked for maps for timbering railroads in history, I found one that showed that a railroad line ran right along this creek bed. There's no signs of it today. Found out that when they were done timbering, they would pull up all the railroad tracks and all the supplies with it to be reused at some other point. But not everything obviously got taken. Some things got left behind. And today's people who hike have the opportunity to, some of us have the opportunity to find these things. So all along, there was a hidden railroad in this land, on this trail, that I wasn't aware of, my wife wasn't aware of, and I'm sure many of the thousands and millions of hikers that go on that trail were not aware of. In fact, I found out that most of the roads, the back roads, secondary roads, and most of the hiking trails in Pisgah Forest are all built on old railroad lines. That's how many railroads were running up through the forest. So these pieces, let me go back over here to them, are about 125 to 150 years old. Just left laying there in the forest, in the ground. History underneath the ground. Now let's talk about that 125 to 150 years ago first. There were a lot of men who lost their lives on the railroad from derailments or falling off the trains. They spent a lot of time away from their families. They had encampments, which explains the camping area up there that had been cleared out, where they would stay up in the mountains. And the pipe, I found out, was a line that would be ran to supply water to the steam engines from the creek. That's where that pipe came from. So all the answers came at one time, when the universe was ready to reveal them to me. Over the course of a year, it took me to find all this evidence to discover what actually had happened on that land 125 to 150 years ago. So it's very important that we respect the land. Now, I don't know much about the timbering business. I don't know how much respect was paid to the trees and the reforestation of the land. Hopefully it was. I can't speak for them, I wasn't there. But as for me, I need to respect the land. Go back even before that. How many pioneers, settlers lived on the land? Before that, how many indigenous Cherokee people lived on the land? And before that, We're so adamant about this land belongs to us, this land belongs to us. None of this land belongs to any of us. It all belongs to the universe. And it was our ancestors' land first. And it was the Cherokee and indigenous people's land first. And we have an obligation to respect that. We have an obligation to honor that. I've been lately really looking into ancestral healing, ancestry. I have a very large tree that I've researched and found my ancestors dating way back. My wife's ancestors run back to the early 1700s, if not before that. I think late 1600s in this area. So her ancestors have been around here for a long time, walking this land. But looking at ancestry, ancestral healing, I found some things where we have to honor and respect the land before we go on it. There's many things in the land that people are not aware of. There's all kinds of creatures and beings, not just animals, not just flora, not plants. You've got grandfather trees, you've got the fae, you've got the spirits of the land, you've got the keepers of the land. And you have to give them honor and respect. And in turn, they'll show it to you. You know, after I'd read that, the next time I went back to the trail, and this is before I found the extra pieces, I took an offering. And I laid an offering at the beginning of the trail, and I asked permission from the ancestors and from the keepers of the forest if it would be okay if I entered on their land and hiked it. And I did. I went on and I hiked. And about a mile in on this trail, there was a huge waterfall. And I saw the spirits of two Cherokee warriors walk out from behind the waterfall up into the forest. Hadn't seen them before. I would go on to meet many other spirits in this area of the forest. It's a magical place. We can hear drums beating. Nobody around. We'll be there at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. Nobody around camping. You can hear drums beating in the forest. Those two Cherokee warriors, I would eventually meet them. And they would tell me in our interaction that they were the keepers of the land. And they were respectful that I had asked permission and gave them an offering to come on the land. And they had asked me to share with everyone that they see people walking up and down the trail, enjoying the trail, but not understanding the importance and significance of the land and the area that they're walking on. They see people walking up and down the trail having a good time, not understanding that their people had once inhabited this land, that their people used to love fishing and hunting and traveling through the land, until one day they were forced to travel the Trail of Tears off the land. The blood and the sacrifice. The blood and sacrifice of the men on the railroad who died. We don't think about that when we're out there on the land. We don't think about honoring and respecting that. And they asked that we follow certain rules and pass it along when we go out on the land. One of them was to respect the ancestors, to honor them, and to think of them as we hike. They want us to enjoy the land. They want us to have a good time on it, but they also want us to be recognizing the sacrifices that they had made. And we don't do that often enough. We don't recognize the sacrifices our ancestors made to get us to where we are today. And that's not handed down to us either anymore. It's not told to us anymore. And if it is, you're very fortunate, because most of the people I talk to, they don't know their ancestry. They don't know their history. They don't know where their people came from. Second thing is they said to take care of the land. Treat it as your own. You wouldn't believe how much trash and bottles that we find. Maybe you do believe when we hike. Rebecca takes a bag with her, and we try to pick it up as we go to try to do our part in cleaning it up. But respect the land like it's your own. It's all we have. It belongs to the universe. It's on loan to us for right now. and it will be unknown to our children in the future. And if we don't take care of it, it won't be there. It won't make it. It won't last. Another thing that they said was, if you take anything, if you're there to take mushrooms, if you find a nice rock, if you take anything from the land, ask permission. Ask permission from the land. Ask permission from the universe. Ask permission from the ancestors before you take it. They thanked me and asked me to share that information. And I've shared it in a blog, and I've posted it in some places, but I'm sharing it in this video now about honoring their requests and their concerns. And I challenge you, I challenge me, I challenge all of us that we look at where we live. I'm sitting in the backyard right now. What's happened on this land in the past? I don't know. I would love to know, would love to find out. But I know something has happened here. I know some ancestors have been here. I know people lived here before me. What's their story? We don't know the story or the history. So I challenge you that as you walk through your backyard or you walk on a trail, think of who went before you. Think of the ancestors, the indigenous people that were here before you. Give them the honor and respect that they should have. The other thing I challenge you, and I challenge myself, is if you've made it this far into the video with me, thank you if you have. But if you've made it this far and you're younger, go ask your parents or grandparents to tell you a story about their childhood or about their past or about something that happened in the history of where you live. I had a grandmother. I used to go to this little town in West Virginia where I grew up. Had all kinds of floods there. They'd have the markers on the side of the building in the city of how high the floods got. And I would take school field trips there. I'd go there myself. And I'd always wonder, I was always amazed at how high the floods got. And I was always drawn to that for some reason. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s, that I found out that my third and fourth great grandmothers died in a flood in that town. Drawn to it, drawn to the markers, but never knew the history because the history wasn't handed down to me. I had a third and fourth great grandmother drown in a flood in that town. If you're a parent, I challenge you, tell your children, hand down the information. If you're a grandparent, hand down the story from your generation. Pass it along. I was talking to a gentleman a couple days ago in one of the biggest places you can go to get history on an area, and that's a cemetery. And I was at a cemetery visiting it a couple weekends ago, and I was talking to a gentleman there. He was probably about 15, 20 years older than me, and he was telling me about how he works there, and he was telling me about how most of the time people don't know, and when they do want to know, it's too late. The people they want to know it from, when they want to know the history or their ancestry from, the people they need to hear it from aren't around anymore. So don't wait that long. Find out your history, find out your ancestry, find out the hidden, the lost ancestry of the land. It's just a hidden railroad. It's just a hidden railroad in the middle of a huge forest of lost history. That's just one piece. What else is lost in that forest? What else is lost on your land? What else is lost in your history and your life and your ancestry? Let's make a difference. Let's make a change. We're all in this together. Let's show each other love. Let's take care of each other. Thank you guys again for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. I'm going to be doing more videos on ancestry. I'm going to be doing more videos on the paranormal. So please just stick around if those things interest you. But let's go out there and let's love each other. Let's take care of each other. That's all we can do. That's all we need. Love and take care of each other. That's why we're here. Thank you for joining me at the fire, and I look forward to seeing you again here.